everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Teasha Cable, CEO of C Model Data, and today we have an awesome guest who is making waves in the field of supply chain management. Please welcome Dr. Iris Heckman, the VP of Product Strategy and Industry Solutions at Parkour. Iris brings a wealth of experience in operations research, risk management, and I am excited to dive into her insights on enhancing supply chain resilience and the decisions that go with it. Iris, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Can you start by telling us a little bit more about Parkour and your role there?
First of all, thank you very much for this nice introduction. I really appreciated it, and thanks for having me here at your podcast. Yeah, so my name is Iris. I'm VP, as you said, for Product Strategy and Industry Solutions at Parkour, and we at Parkour drive smart decisions and to use data to achieve better outcome-driven decisions, to bridge the gap between all those silos that we encounter in our nowadays enterprise solutions, and basically drive the end-to-end decision making by overcoming and bridging all those silos stemming from diverse different systems. So we come with a huge vision, and this vision is something that the entire team is driven by. And of course, we make use of all those new methodologies and new technologies that are available due to all these highly smart people around the globe. Yeah, so AI is, of course, one of our DNA parts besides data and besides decision intelligence.
Come on, decision intelligence, shot out right here on the Dynamic Decisions podcast. So look, you've been developing these new approaches since like 2008. You even wrote a book towards supply chain risk analytics. When you joined Parkour, how did that translate from your academic research into their decision intelligence platform? And what was sort of the biggest surprise in moving from theory into real world implementation?
So actually, I've worked as a researcher in applied IT research and as a management and IT consultant and as a product strategist. So obviously, I've been responsible for data-driven and mathematical solutions. But my overall goal always was and will always be to bridge the state of the art that is available in academia and real world problems. So that's what I've done all my life. Yeah. So I started as a master student at a research center, and then I started as a PhD applicant at a applied research center for IT and information processing. But that was always not because I wanted to create the best method in theory. I wanted to create the best method that can solve a practical, real case problem. So when I then transitioned to consulting, of course, the business value or the point in time that you provide the first time business value became a little bit closer to the project start, actually. But then when I transitioned to Parkour, it was also kind of natural because in consulting, you see sometimes repetitions of customer and clients' problems that you can solve via a system. So why starting from scratch all over again? No, we can use those kind of rationals that we have experienced over other clients and customers to basically build a model and to build a solution. So transitioning or the entire path maybe started with learning methodology and technology, and then learning how to provide faster business value to actually doing repetitive work via the implementation of products.
So I think that if businesses start to really dig in, this concept around what's repetitive and what needs to be new every time will be a super interesting concept. And that's how we start really digging into what are the best use cases of artificial intelligence, even in decision-making processes. So I really appreciate that that's where you are. So I know that you're going to be speaking at the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium this month. So a day in the life of an AI-driven supply chain. So I'm really interested if you could talk us through some specific examples where your risk analytics approach really prevented what could have been a catastrophic supply chain type failure. What was maybe some of the key things like financial impact or some of those things, just giving a really good example of use case here. And this is so that our audience who may not understand sort of the implications here of how important your work is.
Yeah, so maybe when it comes to risk management, I think every one of us has already a definition of risk in our heads when we talk about that. But actually, I have a slightly different definition when it comes to risk. For me, risk is something that might happen in the future, but has not yet materialized. And when we do risk management, we always think of a disruption that has just occurred and how to best answer that and how to best reply to that disruption. It turns out, if we consider maybe one of the largest failures that is happening all over the world in the recent years, we can think of the closure of ports. So what do you do if you know your goods are on a specific container ship? What can you do? Actually, you cannot do a lot, right? You cannot send a helicopter saying, dig for my goods in that container ship. So real time and let's say in the moment replying to disruption is very difficult because the range of actions that we can do is limited. So that's why my approach starts. I think, first of all, I'm not interested in the event identification. If it's the port closure, if it's a pandemic, if it's a labor strike at the port, that's not important. It means in supply chain context, a specific process or a specific functionality is not available. And and the reason for that is completely, not interested for me. Yeah. So I know it's available. Okay, let's look how our network can compensate the non-availability of such a functionality. So that's first. Yeah. So stop chasing events because we can never be complete in prediction and we can never be right in predicting those events.
Come on, that's good stuff. Never be complete and you can never be right. Stop
Yeah.
chasing events. Got it.
Stop chasing events. Exactly.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
second thing is just, if we are in such a situation like I described earlier, so what can we do? Of course, our mitigation actions are limited. So we need to shift from reactive risk decision making into proactive risk decision making. We need to do all the assessments upfront. And we have the technology and all the methodology in place, right? We can do that. We can run simulations and simulations in the back to prepare what if something like this happens in the future. Then we basically know what to do. Or even better, we can prevent the level of impact on our key performance indicators if we endow our network or decision problem with some buffers. And here I don't mean like just building up inventories. I also mean like flexibility and adaptability. So I think there are three notions to the risk approach. First of all, stop chasing events. Second, come from reactive to proactive risk management, and then actually evaluate what really matters. So sometimes we see like risk scores that evaluate risk from 1 to 10, on a scale from 1 to 10. What does 3.5 mean?
Right. Right.
Is it bad? Should I do something against it? And if yes, what should I do? Yeah. So that's why we need data. That's why we need sophisticated methods. And nowadays it is called artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence subsumes a lot of different methods, right? So it's mathematical optimization, it's machine learning, the different styles, and sometimes it's just basic statistics.
I often think about when we have these instances where we have lots of information coming at us, what we're really looking for are answers. And so answers come from these multiple levels of systems being processed to get answers, as opposed to, I'm going to give you just the scoring of 1 to 10. Great. That's just information. I need to understand some why, some causality, and some other things in order for me to really start digging in to what's happening here and what I should do about it, because that's really my goal, is to figure out how to act. So I really appreciate that you're deep into this space as well. So you've mentioned in other places that like legacy systems can't really keep up with today's fast moving supply chains. And at Parkour, you're dealing with hyperscale data ingestion, real time decision making. When you
Exactly.
have to make a split second automated decision that could affect millions of dollars in inventory, for example, what's a framework for balancing speed versus accuracy.
A perfect point, yeah, because everyone wants to make fast decision on spot, and of course those decisions have to be accurate and perfectly fine, matching, feasible, and everything that you can imagine. How should something like this actually work if our legislative systems maybe cannot provide this kind of solution? So maybe the basic rationale behind is what we offer is to get real-time information to be capable of initiating the entire decision process. But the decision process is nothing that is just in place after something happened. Actually, it's in place right before. It actually matches with what I've just tried to explain with the risk assessment, proactive assessment. We need to have simulation or let's say assess. I also like to call it like just assessment
Yes.
algorithms in the back that run in the back and that make all those potential future scenarios
Yes.
understand what if something like this happens now with our current data, with our current demand structure, with our current infrastructure, what can we do or what should we do? And then it turns out there's something popping in. Did we have that as a scenario? Yes, we had. Okay. And then we decide. So what I try to say is it's a combination of thoughtful, upfront assessment and evaluation of the underlying situation, thinking of potential future situations and scenarios to adapt our current supply chain networks, to adapt our decisions that we have done in the past, and to saying, look, maybe you should adapt right now because we experience a specific shift in costs, for instance. Yeah. So it's a very popular topic right now when it comes to all the tariffs that change dramatically all the cost structures and that has a huge impact on underlying network structures. So sometimes we face an event that pops up right here, and we need to have the answer, an accurate answer available. And that's something that we do already in the back. And sometimes we encounter shifts that, yeah, I don't know, yeah, kind of it develops slightly. Of course, the tariffs one is also kind of a shock disruption, another slightly evolving topic. But actually, it is the combination of real time assessment and proactive assessment, and then combined with the speed and capabilities of our Parkour platform.
Fantastic. For our audience, I want you guys to be thinking about your own experiences, whether in the supply chain or in other decision making areas. What strategies have you implemented that have significantly improved your operations? I'd love for you to share your thoughts with us on LinkedIn and on other social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. So let's dig into leadership areas a little bit. So you're the VP of product strategy. So you're essentially translating complex mathematical optimization into products that everyday supply chain managers can use. How do you bridge the gap between sophisticated algorithms that you've developed and the practical needs of someone managing a warehouse in like Ohio?
That's a perfect example. And actually, I'd like to turn your phrase around. That's, I normally start with understanding the business challenge of my clients and customers. I mean, that's how it should be, right? Yeah. So I try to first of all understand their business problem. And it turns out that the more you understand of your clients and customers' issues and pain points and what they encounter from day to day, the better you can establish a solution. So I've been with clients and projects where they formulated kind of a we need to decrease our inventory. Of course, that's very popular. No one wants to have too much inventory in their warehouses. But then actually it turned out they face a specific issue when it comes to delivering the products towards the customer side out of the warehouses. So there's kind of a bottleneck. So in the end, what turned out started as an inventory management optimization ended in a process improvement at the delivery. As preparation for delivery. Yeah, so core processes that have not been installed smoothly were kind of the bottleneck for everything. That's only like to build something once I understand the problem of the decision maker.
That's right. The problem first or the opportunity first, depending upon someone's language trajectory. Some people want to say problems are opportunities. So whatever it is, that goes first. So you teach risk aware decisions and you teach us, I think it's the Carlu, say it for me, the Institute of Technology. Can you say that name?
Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. So The Germans struggle always with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
So, what's the most common misconception that you see executives have about supply chain risk? And how do you actually help them to reframe their thinking when they're implementing these sort of AI driven solutions?
First question always pops up is kind of if a situation like, for instance, the eruption of this Icelandic volcano a couple of years ago, Eyjafjallajökull, yeah, when that exploded, everyone asked, what if that volcano would be in the US? Would we suffer? And then I say, provocation. I say, no. And then they say, okay, thank you, and hang up. But that's exactly the problem, right? The question is, what is risk in your understanding? What is risk in your terms of objectives? So when would you say risk materializes? Is it if your service level drops by more than 2%? Is it that sales drops by more than 5%? Is everything between today and a 5% drop of profit, is that still okay-ish? Or would you say risk would have been materialized? So that's the very, very first question. What is risk for you and your perception? It is not about me telling them what is risk. It is about what is risk for you. And then what I like to do is to identify those scenarios that would lead to this kind of risk materialization. So risk would materialize if the port is not available for 10 days, but it would not materialize if it's not available for 1 day. So there are, maybe this sounds like nuances, but every time we hear a port is closed, everyone is in a hurry and stressed and talking to each other. Would it be great if I turn on an AI and it tells me, calm down?
Yeah, everything is okay, right?
You can compensate 3 days of non-availability of this port. Don't bother. I think that's the first and most important topic when it comes to risk. Decision makers know what they don't want. We can help in identifying what leads to it.
I like making it that much more human because I think this is where the nuance, and even with our technologies that support decision making, the key thing is there's still what is the human perception of a situation, and you marry that with data. So the human doesn't just get to feel like it's all bad, the data is there. But we do take it into consideration. So, what's risk for you is that kind of question. So, my favorite part of this exercise is this thing that we're going to do. It's called a decision making style assessment. It's a persona assessment. So I'm going to ask you 4 different questions that represent different decision making approaches. And after each one, I'd like for you to tell me how much asking the question that way resonates with how you actually approach your decisions. And we'll do this is on a scale of 0 to 100%. Okay, so you got it. So I'll tell you about the persona first, ask the questions, and then you'll tell me 0 to 100%. You only get 100% total across all 4. Okay, so keep that in mind. Okay, here's the very first one. It's called the feeler. It's a values driven leader. This persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So the questions might be, when I'm facing a major product strategy decision, I ask myself, does this align with our mission to make supply chains more resilient and ultimately protect patient outcomes or consumer welfare? Even if a more automated solution is faster to deploy, I need to feel confident that we're truly enhancing human decision making rather than just replacing it with black box algorithms. How much does this approach to decision making resonates with you?
So I only have 100 in total, so I have to kind of deal with the uncertainty that something up. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Decision Algorithm Builder. You
This
have to
is
deal with
the
uncertainty.
expert under uncertainty. Now it happens. I have to prove. So actually,
Yes.
it resonates quite a lot. Yeah. I could make it very easy. I start with 25%.
Oh, okay. So you are going to you're going to work the system. I see. All right. Here's the next one. It's the planner. You're a strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. When I'm making strategic decisions, I ask myself, What are the long-term implications of this choice for supply chain resilience across different disruption scenarios? I need to map out how geopolitical shifts, climate change, and technology evolution might affect our solutions over the next 5 to 10 years, ensuring our decisions position us well for multiple possible futures. How much of your decision making resonates there?
I'm screwed now. Okay, I cannot say 20, I cannot say 75 because I tend to go,
Yes.
but it really fits quite good with what I would say. Okay, I go with 50%. So I'm
Okay.
25.
Okay. 25 left. Here we go. This one is called the counter. You challenge all assumptions. So, this persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. When evaluating opportunities, I ask myself, what assumptions are we making about supply chain optimization that might be fundamentally wrong? What is everyone else in the industry doing that we should question? I tend to dig into why supply chains operate a certain way and whether there's a mathematically better approach that the industry isn't seeing. How much of you resonates with that persona?
Ah, actually, I would say it's less than the aforementioned, just due to the fact that I'm not looking for the better solution in it as such. I'm always, and that's what you've mentioned also earlier, right? It's about combination of human and AI. So basically, first of all, you need to build trust in the process and to build confidence in the system and the solutions that popped out. So I would go for 10%.
10%. Okay, here's our last one. You ready? It's called the data driver, evidence based decision maker. So, this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. Before making important decisions, I ask myself, what does our quantitative risk analysis actually tell us about potential failure modes and other probabilities? I want to see concrete simulation results, historical disruption patterns, and mathematical optimization models that can validate or contradict our strategic instincts. How much of you is that?
So I have 15 left and I go for the full 15. So if I could do it again, yeah, so I would maybe say like 10, 45, 5, and 40. My choices.
10, 45, 5, and 40. We'll give that one to you. That's what we'll write up. So you are 10% feeler, you are 45% planner, 5% counter, 40, did you say? Yep, 40% data driver. That's it. That's fantastic. The, fun stuff, right? So the
Yeah.
idea is now take that to your team and say, when you give me information, do it like this. Yes. Okay, so we're wrapping up here. Here's my final question. So you've spent over 15 years developing the mathematical foundations of supply chain risk analytics. And now you're actually implementing these concepts at scale with industry leaders. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring leaders in supply chain management who want to build truly resilient operations, what would it be?
One advice would be that I think that's again a very important one. Resilience is not only about functionality of the supply chain. So when you say, for instance, okay, can I deliver under this and that conditions to my customer? That's of course resilient. If you can do that, then you are resilient. But it's also about, will I still be competitive if costs rise by more than 10%? Or if prices have to drop because I cannot sell enough by a specific amount? Resilience for me is both efficiency and effectiveness. It is about how effective is my underlying supply chain delivering to our customers. And it is about how efficient is my supply chain working. Am I creating competitive advantage of my supply chain and of my entire business because we are really running smoothly? So resilience is both.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. And guess what, Iris? It's been a pleasure having you on this show. Your expertise has been awesome, and I can't wait to continue to dig in and learn more about you and all the things that you all are doing. Can you share with our listeners where they can learn more about you and Parkour?
Yeah, so basically it is our websites, yeah, parkoursc.com. And of course, I'm highly appreciating any conversations on LinkedIn. I actually have connected to quite a few people there where I had great conversations. So don't hesitate to contact me.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you've enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate it, and share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.